put salt in its oats. Okay, well, anyhow, thanks for us. That's great. And for all of you that know this individual, Hannah Hamilton, used to be our piano player, and I was out at a function with her and her husband in Kelowna last weekend, Anna and I were, and she said to say hi to everybody. So there you go. Okay, so let's begin with today. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an opening treatment of meditation. So I invite you just to take a moment and to go within and know that there is that one eternal truth that is forever giving of itself, and that's God's truth, my truth, your truth, our truth right now. For the Spirit is consistent and never deviates. It's always there for us to guide us, lead us, direct us, and inspire us to right action in all circumstances, all situations, at all times. Our job is the openness and receptivity and willingness to be aware of and the observer in our day-to-day life of how Spirit speaks to me. So with that idea planted in your mind, I'd like to invite you to go within and just ask that question, how does Spirit speak to me? And see what comes to mind about the different ways that might happen in your life. So take that idea and take a few moments to reflect on how Spirit speaks to me. And I know that as I seek guidance from the Most High within and through me, that the answer always comes, and that I am practicing awareness, and my awareness deepens and increases every day. And as I see the guidance given to me, I act upon it and know that ultimately good prevails. So I give thanks for that. I declare it, and I accept it to be so, and so it is. If you haven't figured out, that would be a lesson in the talk in itself. We did a little bit of that yesterday about how Spirit speaks to us. There's a number of different ways, but that's a little bit different than what we're going to do today. So today is Trick or Treat. And of course, the caption I said is it's that very special time of year that when we're finished with Thanksgiving, and of course we're waiting the Halloween experience. Trick or treat is a cry at the door for candies in lieu of dirty deeds. I used to like the dirty deeds myself. Interestingly, you probably find that hard to believe. Interestingly, we play trick or treat with ourselves daily. Of course, it begins in the field of mind and appears in our experiences. Today we look at ways we play the game of trick or treat and treat with ourselves, and how, with awareness, we can prosper, or we could end up with mediocrity, or maybe even more, worse, despair. So we're going to check in to see how we're doing on these ideas. So keep in mind, open and receptive, because every one of these can go back and forth. Every one of these, you could trick yourself, or you can know the truth and move beyond that and treat yourself. So the first one, number one, you always get to be right. Now I've had people say to me, that's not true, I like to be wrong. Yeah, but you like to be right about being wrong, don't you? Always, no matter what, you always get to be right. So the question one needs to ask oneself, what do I want to be right about in any given decision? Do I want to be right about that person being an idiot, or do I want to be healed of drawing idiots into my life? Good luck in that one, but it does take time, but you can do that. You can, okay? So one has to really look at that. And I always say, do I want to heal, or do I want to be right about something? And the other thing that's really good to look at is, in that kind of situation, is my opinion, even though it is correct, is it really important to me about being right about it? I don't really care. I've got my opinion, others got their opinions, and they're gonna be right. I'm doing my last shift of Santa season a few years back. 30 minutes, I'm sitting in Espresso, the roastery in Kensington, having my espresso, and I'm thinking, half hour to go, what a wonderful Santa season this has been. And no sooner had I said that, and then boom, in through the door walks this big guy. And he comes right over to me and he starts on me. Hey, Christmas and Santa's nothing but a blah, 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 blah. So I sipped my espresso, I waited, and I gave him about 3 minutes to rant. Then I stuck my hand in his face. I mean, right in his face, and said, that's enough. You had your opinion. Now I'm going to give you my opinion. And I told him what I thought about Santa and Christmas and whatever. And I said, now, I've stated my opinion, you stated yours, that's it. And he looked at me and went, got a coffee and sat down and was nice with other people. But you see, you gotta draw the line. There's no use even getting into a conversation like that. How many times have you had an opinion and somebody else's was different and you got at it? And after you felt crappy and it didn't prove a darn thing. And we all know that. Is there anybody that hasn't had that experience? Okay, so next time, you gotta know is how important it is for you to be right. I know I'm right with what I believe. That's it. I don't need to convince anybody. Oh, yeah. Why do my moods shift for no reason? Why is everything wonderful? I'm doing all this spiritual work, I'm thinking positivity, and then it goes all to hell. And you're wondering why. And you're in the rut, and all of a sudden it turns around and you don't know why. Is it? Everybody understand that? And there's a very logical reason for it. And it's at the level of quantum physics, and it's at the level of polarity. Your car battery gets the charge from the positive pole, but don't work unless there's that balance of the negative. So anything to exist in this physical universe has an energy field around it, eh? And that energy field has a positive and a negative, right? What we deem that to be. But it's not, it's polarity. Clock. Tick, tock. Tick, tock. It don't go tick, 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 right? Unless it's broken. So no matter what you do, you cannot stop that flow back and forth on the polarity. You can't stop it. But with awareness, you can minimize the impact of it. So when it's over on the nice side, keep doing the work. Don't say, I don't need to do that anymore, everything's good. Just enjoy the experience. Because when people say it's so wonderful, I say enjoy it, it won't last. And then don't get egotistical, cocky, or quit doing what you need to do. And that'll hold it up there longer. You get egotistical, cocky, smug, and quit doing your work, whoosh, it'll push it back. Choice. You can't prevent it from going over there. Now when it's over here, I always tell people when you recognize it, keep your mouth shut. Ride the wave. Experience the feelings. Don't feed the hungry wolf on that side. But if you feed it with negativity, if you feed it with all kinds of unthoughtful actions and problems and things like that, you just add to it, and that holds it up there longer. You're really good at that. Some people hold it up there longer and get really miserable, and they're just outrageous all the time. Do you know anybody like that? Or maybe you were like that. But if you ride the wave, experience it, and don't act out on it, and don't feed it, it'll move back to the other side again. But guarantee you, I don't care what you do, That's the nature of polarity at a quantum physics level. I like that one. Oh, yeah. Stop being a liar. Practice not lying. You know, people, oh, I don't lie. Wrong. That's a lie. You can't lie to anybody else, first off, until you lie to yourself. And we make them white lies, little white lies. Don't matter what you want to do it. But that's not the real destructive nature. Let's say that you had someone that kept telling you they were going to straighten out and go the good line, and they didn't. And they kept telling you, and they didn't. And they kept telling you, and they didn't. After a long period of time, if they actually went and did it and told you they did it, would you believe them? No, why not? Because they're a liar. So where the destructiveness comes in our own inner spirit experience, in this line we say, well, what we plant in our thoughts and what we believe becomes our experience. Okay? But then, what we get into is we tell ourselves a lie. Okay, I'm going to get into a program and take off some weight, and I'm going to start Sunday. So you big out, Monday comes, well, you know, this is happening now, I'm going to start Tuesday. Well, I forgot about that, and Wednesday, oh, I just fell off the wagon, I didn't even get damn well on the wagon. Does that sound familiar? No matter what it is, whatever you're trying to cut back on, it's the same story. And we keep telling ourselves we're going to do it, and then after we work on the meditation and putting the thought in there and go, why is this so hard? I'm believing it now. Well, yeah, but you're being a liar to yourself all the time. So how does yourself know that this time you're actually serious? Well, that's because you've got to quit lying to yourself. Once you quit lying to yourself, this stuff becomes easier. Is that ringing a bell with anybody inside? It's a really good way to govern your inner house. Okay. Yeah, I like that there. Jesus said this. We've got to have a saying in there in John. He's talking to the disciples, and he said, if you know the truth is going to make you free. So what's the truth? And he answered them, they asked, well, what is that? And he says, whoever commits a sin is a servant of the sin. So a sin is not one of these religious things. A sin is actually an archery term from ancient Greece, when the archers drew the bow back and they missed the target. To sin is to miss the mark, okay? So if you're focused in on what you're doing wrong, and you keep doing that, then you become a bondage to the problem. You become in bondage to the physical. We all know about needs, all kinds of needs we get strung out on. I don't think there's more than one that I happen to have to deal with, okay? But he says, he goes on to say, but in the house, if you abide in the house of the Son forever, then you can be free of this. So that's taken the spiritual path and correctness, being in the flow of the Spirit within, and quit giving the power of your life over to conditions, circumstances, and people. Like this. Did a Sunday service a few years back at Unity, and a lady came up at me after. She was steamed. He said, Reverend Doug, when you said that, you hurt my feelings. Anybody ever been told that before or said that? And I said to her, dear, please, don't give me that much power in your life to hurt you. Take back your power and say, Reverend Doug, when you said that, I chose to feel hurt. Sound different? You know what she did? She turned around and stomped out the door and never seen her again. That's her problem, not mine. That was the truth. I didn't make her hurt your feelings. I can't do that. It's a choice. Okay, so here's the can do, can have, can't, I am, can't do, can't have, not. So here's a little trick that I use that really helps me keeping my mind focused properly. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you'd like to have happen or not have happen. It has to do with this. If I focus on what I can't do and what I can't have and my shortcomings in any given situation, guess what my life is going to be like? Miserable. On the other hand, to pull out of that and move forward, look at what you can do, what you can have, and what you are. Shift the energy, and that moves it forward into solution. That doesn't mean that's what you want or what you like, but it's what you can do, what you can have. So I got divorced and my wife moved to Vancouver with my daughter, and I was really upset. My mind was all kinds of stuff, negative. Drove me frickin' to the edge. I mean to the edge. Then I switched and said, okay, what can I do? What can I have of what I am? I'm not the kind of person that's going to stoop to that kind of stuff. I'm the kind of person that's going to find a solution. So one of the things I could do and I could have was every Sunday night at 6 o'clock for 5.5 years, when she wasn't with me, I called her and we talked for an hour or so on the phone. No matter where I was, what I was doing, what kind of condition I was in. And so that's what I could have, and I took it. You got it? It's not what I wanted, but it's what I could have. And it's what I could do, and it's what I was in the process of that. Okay, next here, pain and suffering. The paradox. A paradox is one that's seemingly contradictory or opposed to a common sense, and yet is perhaps true, so there could be the difference or that. So you got pain and suffering, and most people think that those are both the same thing. They think pain and suffering is the same thing. Not a chance. Pain is a natural experience of the physical body. It's induced because there's something wrong in the function of the body. Anybody not have anything wrong in their body and been in pain? No. If you're in pain, there's something wrong. Okay? That is not a spiritual thing. That is a physical thing based on the nature of our human experience. Suffering, on the other hand, as said by Ernest Holmes, the universe does not demand suffering. Suffering is man-made through ignorance. It will continue until man learns how to make it negative in his experience, not to be in his experience. Someday we shall decide that we've had enough suffering. So it's a choice. They both may happen at the same time, and part of the grieving process is there's suffering involved in that as well as the pain, but then the choice becomes yours and mine about how long I need to be in the suffering stage. Because really it doesn't serve any purpose except to help with the pain a bit at that time. Then we can begin to separate it after. It's really important. And then, the next thing that crops up with this one is the concept of heaven and hell. I don't buy into the standard traditional religion that heaven is a place that you go to later and so is the hell, the greater later. That we don't know. There's all kinds of philosophies, different beliefs, right from esoteric and the occult, right up to religion and in between. And you know what? Nobody knows for sure. A, B, everybody's going to find out for sure. So leave that and let's talk about what the true sense of heaven and hell is. And here's what Ernest Holmes said. Heaven is lost merely for the lack of perception of harmony. So anything that's in disharmony, we've lost heaven. Hell is the phantom abode of our own morbid imaginations. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness. Anybody been to hell this week? Anybody been to heaven this week? Anybody been to both? Anybody jump back and forth like a yo-yo? Of course we do. It's a state of consciousness. People from traditional lines say, well, what's the difference between spirituality, what you believe, and what we believe? I said, well, what you believe is that there's a guilt thing involved here, that you're afraid to go to hell. In your philosophy, everybody's afraid to go to hell. That's why you've got to toe the line, right? What I say the difference is we don't have that in our philosophy, because we believe that heaven and hell is a state of consciousness, and most of us has already been to hell. That's why we're in this. Interesting. Next idea here. Oh, we got just enough time, I think, to get these both in here. This one is a statement out of the Science of Mind textbook that's really neat. It's circulation, assimilation, and elimination. That happens everywhere in our life. In our breathing, in our eating, in our body, and if there's any breakdown on one of those three areas, the rest all suffer. No matter how well assimilation and elimination are working or not working, it can create a problem when there's a problem with elimination, spiritually and physically. So that's the threesome of the circle of giving and receiving. No, there's one more element in there. It's called using. So you're receiving. How do I receive? And what do I do with what I receive? And then there's giving. And if you've got any attachment or opinion to any of that, anytime, you're not doing the cycle, so there's going to be a problem. Like giving, somebody takes what you give them and throws it in the garbage, and you see them doing it, and you get upset. You think you would? Yeah. That's because you're not giving. When you give, once it's out of your hand, what they do with it is their business. If they want to throw it away, oh well, that's their problem, not mine. Right? So that's one of the complete cycles that we've got to work with. And it's giving and receiving, sowing, growing, reaping. And so it's the ability to clean and clear obstructions in our thinking that we're looking at. And as we do that, things get easier. And the last idea is a lot of people think that the outer causes the inner experience. That accident was caused by this guy going through a red light, and it was all that caused the grief inside of me. What caused the accident? And so, well, it wasn't my fault. They went through a stop sign. I always said, yep, but I showed up for it. So I'm in the experience. And it's really not about what the experience, that's just an example. Any experience, it really doesn't matter. It matters how you manage the inner house. Because the world around us is simply a reflection of what it is we believe and how we see it. I did an example yesterday in the workshop. How many people watch the Field of Dreams? Does anybody know what the voice said? Great, yes. And nobody from yesterday crop up on this. What about the rest of what the voice said? Right. Got it? Okay, go watch the Field of Dreams again. Watch for how Spirit speaks with coincidence. It's really weird things happening. And then listen to it, because there's so much that's presented in what we see that we just don't get or understand how it comes together. Build it, and they will come. Ease his pain, So you create your dream, you've got to ease your pain, get rid of your negativity. The third thing the voice said, go the distance. See it through to completion. And so when you're going into life and you're going into your journey, everything that you see is just what you want to see. It's not all that's there. What you see is based on your perception. If you look at it differently, you'll see more. Mark down The Dark Crystal and Apollo 13 for really good learning movies. You can always send me an email. And just to go along with that, I'm going to close with a poem that really is indicative and really reflects how this mechanism of what we have inside is connected to the outside. It's by James Allen, and that's As a Man Thinketh. And we've got it as a woman thinketh too, now that we're all that other stuff he says. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, shaping what he wills. He brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. The environment is but his looking glass. And so it is.